Hello, today I'm going to be sharing a fun emboss resist technique, and I'm starting out with an A2 size card base in white, and I'm also using a 4" by 5 1/4" white panel here. And to start, I'm going to be using this flower stamp. It's really cute. And next, what I'm going to use is the Versamark watermark stamp pad, and it's a really slow drying ink pad, so it's perfect for embossing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by stamping the image here on the corners, and it's a little hard to see in the camera and even in person, so I'm lifting up the paper so that I can see and so that there's no overlapping. So now I'm going to start working my way up from the bottom. Okay, and next I'm going to be using some white embossing powder, and at first it's going to give it a tone-on-tone look, but when we start adding the distress inks, you're going to see the actual flower images appear, and that's going to be the resist part. So I'm just adding a lot or as much of the powder to the stamped images as I can, and then I'm just tapping off the excess into the Tupperware. And you could already see here a little bit of the image, the tone-on-tone image. It's still not dry, so I'm going to have to apply heat right now using a heat gun. The one that I'm using is by Martha Stewart. So first I got it a little bit hot first, and then I started applying heat to the paper or to the embossing powder. And once it starts to look a little bit shiny, that's when you know that you don't need to heat it any further. That's when it's done. So right here it looks a little like you can still tell that it's powder, but when it gets real shiny, that's when it's done. And if you have any curling, if your paper starts to curl a little, you could always apply some heat to the back of the paper, and that always works. It kind of evens it out. And I'm using a really thick cardstock, so there wasn't too much curling on the paper. Okay, so now I'm going to start the resist technique, the resist part. And a lot of people use I think it's the craft mat, but I don't have one of those, so right now I'm just using the leftover backing from my shipping labels, and it works almost the same. It's like a really slick surface, almost like waxy, so that works for me for now. So now I'm starting in with the antique linen distress ink, and I'm using my foam applicator and to apply the ink. So what I'm doing is I'm dabbing the foam applicator onto the ink, and then starting from the outside, I'm working in circular motion and applying the ink that way. Not applying too much pressure. And you could use any colors. At this point, I'm using peacock feathers. It's one of my favorite blue colors. And next I'm coming in with a little bit of the peel paint distress ink. And I think it looks really nice. Almost like a under the sea, but you know, this works for anything. Even with these flower images here, it looks really nice. And here on the bottom, I'm coming in again with the antique linen distress ink. And when you're applying the distress inks, there's really no rules, or at least I don't think there are. I think you could go in with any colors and just, make it look really cute just by adding, like here I'm adding the vintage photo all around the edges, and I think that looks really nice. And now I'm going to be using this little spritzer, and it's just full of water. The distress ink reacts to water, so I'm just adding a couple of spritzes, and as you can see here, it's just giving it a different technique, a different look, or I'm sorry, a different texture. So now I wanted to add a couple of 3D flowers. This is the solid image flower, and I'm going to be using a couple of these Hero Arts shadow inks. And I kind of wanted a light blue and a mint, so those are the colors that I'm using. It's Soft Pool and Mint Julep. Okay, and now I made, or I'm making my own little flag for the sentiment. So what I did was I cut out a little piece of cardstock, and the length is 3 inches. The height can be any height that you want, but it was 3 inches long, and then I simply scored both ends at 1/2 inch and at 5/8 of an inch, and then just bent the flag ends back, and it was really easy. And as you can see there, I cut out the 2 solid flower images in Soft Pool and Mint Julep color. And the sentiment, I'm also going to be stamping it in the Soft Pool, and that sentiment says thanks, and I think it's really cool. I like the font on that. So now I cut out just 2 of these flowers, and I wanted to have a 3D effect, so I'm going to be using a couple foam squares on the back of those 2 flowers and on the back of the banner sentiment. And now I'm just, first I'm going to be applying the panel onto the card base before I apply the flowers and the sentiment, just because I didn't want to have to use the tape runner on the back with all the 3D foam on top of that. It just feels a little weird. Okay, and now I'm just going to be adhering the banner sentiment, and I'm applying a little bit of glue on the ends of the flag because I just don't want those to move. And lastly, I'm going to be applying a little bit of glitter using the Wink of Stella glitter pen, and I'm using clear. Just adds a little bit of shimmer, which I think is really nice. And I'm going to be applying it all over the card as well, just for a little added shimmer. And there it is. There's the finished card. And I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching. Bye.